And now, from Greater Sandton and beyond, get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour, edition 204, week 29 of 2025. I'm Alexander Leibner, and a very special welcome to everyone listening for the very first time, if that's you. Welcome to the Sandton Times Hour Nation, and if you're a regular listener, well, welcome back, and thanks for making the time and being part of another hour, if it's on air or online, anywhere in Johannesburg or Pretoria, across South Africa or somewhere in the world. I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandton land, and exciting times in South Africa, and another interesting hour up ahead for you, and thank you for taking the time to be part of the show for another week. Big thank you to our sound engineer Vincenzo for being behind the mixing desk this week. And I think at this point, Vincenzo, an apology for last week's broadcast. We're aware of there being some technical issues that occurred during the hour, and the team has since investigated and taken steps to ensure that hopefully we have a smooth experience going forward. Having said that, a quick look back at this past week, and I took a road trip down to the Drakensberg to test drive a new range of buckies from LDV, a British brand of truck makers, who was then sold to the Chinese manufacturer SAIC, and those are the same people who brought MG back to South Africa, and had a chance to test drive those buckies and get a feel for yet another motoring brand in the market, although they've been in the country for about 2 years now, but they're seriously ramping up some of the offering. And I'm going to be sharing an interview with you relating to this in the coming weeks. Also, content is up on the social media platforms if you'd like to get a taste of this test drive and what we get up to on these experiences. Then I had a great lunch at Daruma by Oskido at Waterfall Corner as well this past weekend. And if you enjoy Asian flavors, teppanyaki cooking, and just a fun vibe. If you're going with friends, if you're going as a couple, maybe it's a date night or a date day, a very recommended experience. Always fun to see your food being cooked in front of you, and you can kind of chat to the chef and kind of add all these different spices and things. And if you're interested in that, more on the website and on the socials as well. Loads of fun. Who are we talking to this week? Well, in a bit, I'll be talking to a talented young chef, bringing his talent to Sandton's culinary scene. Take a listen for that. After that, I connect with a new author whose first book takes us to the big blue sea and her passion for the ocean. Then we reconnect with our regular entertainment commentator to talk about some new releases, from Sharks to the latest Superman. And finally, there's an auction taking place of the Gupta Mansions in Saxonwold. And I'll be finding out a little bit more for all of us. There's some more coming up, and I always like to hear from you. So if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so with sending your questions, your comments, or feedback to editor@sandtontimes.co.za, connecting on social media @Sandton Times, or hopping onto the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And if you're not part of the podcast community yet, be sure to subscribe to the Sandton Times Hour on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, AfriPods, Podcast Party, and many more. And be sure to like, share, and follow.
Promote your brand. Advertise your business.
Our audience could be your next client. Contact the Sandton Times today. You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
From scullery to showstopper, our next guest is one of the rising stars of South Africa's fine dining scene, and Ebie du Toit is the head chef at the Pot Luck Club in Johannesburg, located at the chic Peech Hotel, a space known for bold flavors, small plate perfection, and the unmistakable flair of the Luke Dale Roberts group. Chef Ebie is serving up more than just food. He's serving up a whole new dining experience, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Chef Ebie. Welcome to the Sandton Times Hour.
Yeah, thank you. It's incredible. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it to be here.
Chef Ebie, tell us a little bit more about your story of becoming a chef and finding yourself now at the Pot Luck Club in Johannesburg.
So I started becoming a chef like 11 years ago. So basically I started at the test kitchen in the scullery. So at that time the head chef was Ivor Jones, the sous chef was Ryan Cole. So I started in the scullery. And then that's basically where I kind of fell in love with food, you know. What happened was like I've been in the scullery and I've been helping like the chefs like pick herbs, you know, putting labels on the bottles and things like that. And I actually kind of fell in love with the fact that it's like people creating things out of nothing.
Have you always been in love with food?
Before this, I want to be honest with you. No, I haven't been in love with food before, like getting into the kitchen. It was other things, you know. But yeah, my passion basically started at the test kitchen, you know, and then obviously like I got promoted my first time into the kitchen. They made me a kitchen hand, which was really cool. Then my first week they put me on bread section, which was very, very cool. And then the next day I had to do all three breads by myself. And then basically there's a certain time that the head chef says that we need to go out for the floor, right? And then I had all my breads in the oven at this day, and it was a Saturday night, right? So I baked three different types of breads. So the chef was like, everyone out of the kitchen. And I've got all three breads into all three ovens. And now I'm like, look, but my bread in the oven, what do I do? And he's chasing us out. So when I got back into the kitchen, guess what? All of it was burnt, you know, and that's where I was like, oh, wow. So chefs just showed me like, look, this is how it works, you know. Becoming a chef, it's you need to really love what you do. You need to care. You need to set time for yourself. You always need to make sure that you think out of the box, you know, like basically multitasking, you know. And then that's where I learned my lesson, you know. So I am so connected to food that I just want to get better every day, you know. Every day I just want to try and get better and better and better, you know.
What drove you to take that first step into the culinary world? Because, I mean, there's a lot of people sitting out there either thinking they could be chefs or having never thought about becoming a chef. What was that trigger point for you to say, I'm going to give this a try?
Alex, like basically I come from where I never been supported in my, like personal life. And when I started coming to the test kitchen, it was basically, I saw this, I want to call it a family, you know. Like everyone, the way they respond in the kitchen, how they're moving and all that. And I really wanted to be part of a family like that, where it's not just about the food, but there's also care. So I was just like, look, I've got nothing to lose on the outside, you know. I never ever really had people that care for me other than my great grandmother that's passed away now. So I was just like, look, I've been doing all these other wrong things. There's no turning back now. So let's just give it a try, you know. And I just gave my all, you know. Like I said, after me burning all the breads, it became very serious to me, you know. It became like it's not just my job now, it's actually personal. So I just needed to figure out how I'm gonna execute my craft better, you know, because now it's time management, it's multitasking. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you know. I'm trying to take on more, try to adapt more, you know, learning knife skills, you know. And the thing with me, this like I couldn't read, you know. So if they tell me go to the fridge, go get coriander, I went to the fridge and call anybody, can you tell me what's coriander? And the chef basically told me, look here, taste it. Like taste it. So every day I would go and I would taste stuff, you know, taste the raw sage, taste the coriander, taste the parsley, looking for the rosemary. One day he told me like, bring me asparagus, you know, I'm taking like green beans. I'm like, chef, yeah, he's like, no, asparagus, mate, get someone to help, you know. So yeah, I didn't get it easy. It was a bit hard, but I really enjoyed it, you know. And hence why I've been just like everything back and just keep pushing, you know. And I mean, like, look where I am now, you know. Now I'm running the Pot Luck Club at the Peech Hotel, and it's incredible, you know. Like I feel like 10 years ago, I haven't had this mindset, and I haven't looked at food the way I'm looking at it now, you know. It's something that actually brings joy to people, and it's a language that a lot of people speak, you know what I mean? And what we're doing at the Peech and at the Pot Luck Club in Johannesburg and Cape Town as well, like it's small sharing plates, you know? So you kind of connect with the people you're going out for dinner with. It's not just you getting your own plate, you're connecting with your person or your family member, whoever, you get what I'm saying? So it brings back, I want to call it that family feeling, you get what I'm saying, where it's like, this is what the Pot Luck Club is all about. Not just we trying to get your money, but it's also we're giving you experience where it's like, yes, this is what we do, you know. It's the love, you know, that we have for what we do, you know.
I mean, I totally agree with you in terms of bringing joy. I mean, I had a chance to try some of the menu, going through the sort of, I'd almost like to call it like a taste of everything that you've got, your best of hits at the Pot Luck Club. And I mean, the ones that stood out to me was the fish sliders, which are just
Beautiful.
absolutely incredible. I mean, if anyone listening wants to go try something, this you got to go try. The fish sliders are just divine. The steak with the truffle sauce was just also fantastic. I mean, it melts in your mouth. If you like steak, that's something to try. And then, funny enough, the dessert, which actually features peanuts or peanut butter in it. And I'm not a peanut butter fan at all. I mean, I can't even remember the day I ever ate peanut butter. But this really is so subtle and so beautifully put together with the honey and the honeycomb and some of the other elements that you brought into it. I think there's a banana sorbet or a banana gelato.
There's a banana mousse.
Divine. It is really, I mean, the way it comes together was really, I mean, those for me were three standout dishes. How does this menu sort of come together? Do you sit down with Chef Luke Dale Roberts? Do you guys sort of brainstorm some ideas, try out some things? How do you get to a point where you're saying, no, these are the dishes we're going to put in front of people and they're going to come back wanting more?
It's just an idea, for instance, like I came up with this other dish. I wanted to do a lobster, like it was 2 months ago. I wanted to do a lobster, and then it wasn't working out the way I wanted. And Luke was in the kitchen with me. It's like, look, mate, just do this, do that, and just turn that there. And it's like, there, it works, So it's basically just we all brainstorming ideas together. You get what I'm saying? Because obviously I come from a different childhood where I grew up with all these Cape Malay flavors, Then working in Luke's restaurant, it's all up, it's all this Asian, like it's an infusion, you know what I mean? So now I'm coming with my Malay infusion, Asian infusion ideas, and Luke comes with like, look, let's turn this into that and turn that to that. So yeah, it's basically just the ideas that we all put together and we taste it, and it's, if we're happy, we're happy, and if we're not, we just try again,
Well, if that whet your taste buds, go check it out. We've got the details up on the website as well. The Pot Luck Club, which is now at home in Johannesburg at the Peech Hotel, and they've got their a la carte menu. They've also got sort of a set menu where you can do also a bit of a wine pairing with it as well. They've got a fantastic cocktail menu as well, and a really lovely winter menu if you are into a couple of those dishes that I just mentioned. I mean, as I say, go try the fish sliders. If you haven't done anything else this year, go try the fish sliders. Head chef Ebie du Toit, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's been a pleasure being on this as well. And thank you for everyone that's listening here. Like Alex said, the Pot Luck Club Johannesburg at the Peech Hotel. You won't be unhappy.
Okay, we have your guarantee there. You're listening to 919, and we're going to take a quick break and more of the show right after this.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
There's something undeniably magical and magnetic about the ocean, and this is something that attracted my next guest to write a book about it. Veruska De Vita is a learner free diver, open water swimmer, co-founder of the award-winning agency Twigger Communications, and now she's a published author. And her debut book, Deep Blue, Why We Love the Sea, is a lyrical love letter to the water, part memoir, part exploration, and entirely immersive. And it launches this week in bookstores, and she's here to share her experiences, insights, and the incredible stories that shaped this book and perhaps convince even the most landlocked among us to take the plunge into the deep blue sea. And Veruska, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you so much, Alex. I'm so excited to be dipping my toes into the water with you, so to speak.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of that in the next 10 minutes. Well, congratulations on the new book. And firstly, let's kick this thing off by understanding, what is a free diver?
So a free diver is a human who is able to hold their breath and actually submerge themselves underwater. There are different ways of doing this. A lot of people understand free diving as these incredible human beings who actually duck dive into the water and go down, 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 down to 100 meters, 130 meters.
Yes.
They're called free divers, but there are also free divers who will swim horizontally in the water and not necessarily aim for depth.
Okay, all right, that clarifies that, because I'm sure I've seen documentaries with people following ropes into the darkest part of the ocean, holding their breath for, it feels like minutes. And I thought this seems quite extreme.
It is very extreme. It is an entire physiological assault on the body. But these people manage to do it. In fact, they love it. They revolve their entire lifestyles and lives around it and are very good at it.
Now, as somebody who's based predominantly in Johannesburg, what drove you to get into freediving?
My parents were born on the island of Sicily, which is totally surrounded by sea. And my dad used to actually freedive in his youth. He used to go down many tens of meters, probably to about 40 or 50 meters, and spearfish and gather up the beautiful fruits of the sea. And this inspired me. Like, his stories that he's been telling me his whole life have always mesmerized me. They've almost become mythologized in all his retelling. He was also a very good open water swimmer. He used to swim from mainland Sicily to the island of Mozia and back. And I always used to think, wow, it must be such an amazing feeling to be able to do this. So yes, I am very landlocked. I live in Joburg, but I am obsessed with the sea and with the ocean. And I get to the coast as often as I can during the year. Give me any excuse and I will be there.
So what was that very first moment that made you fall in love with the ocean, and of course also brought about this passion to now write an entire book called Deep Blue? Because that's another commitment on a whole nother level.
It is. So as far as I can remember, I've always loved the sea. Being on the beach, being in the water, being totally immersed in the water, for me feels like home. It is my place where I just let go, I surrender, and I feel totally safe, even though it is such a vulnerable environment. For me, it's pure love. I know it sounds like a cliche, but I love it. It makes me feel amazing. I respect it. It's part of who I am. It's actually part of my body. It's part of all of our bodies, in fact.
So what do you hope Deep Blue is going to deliver people that read this book? What can they expect?
So it's a meandering conversation with the world's best free divers, the best open water swimmers, recreational open water swimmers, and people who actually study the sea and study the people of the sea. So I hope that readers will come away from this going, wow, I just want to go and jump and dip and splash and frolic and have fun in the sea, and actually have a deeper respect for it and protect it. One of the most fascinating people I was very privileged to have many conversations with is a geneticist called Melissa Ilado, and she actually became very close to the Bajo people of Indonesia. They're also called sea nomads. These people live on with the sea. And one of the things that she discovered is that the soles of their feet are soft because they hardly ever walk. They're always in the water. They're always swimming. The other big thing that she discovered is that their population group has actually undergone a microevolution. And this is something that takes place between 2,000 and 5,000 years in its entirety. So it happens over quite a number of generations. Their spleens are double the size of the average human being. And what this means is that they've got more oxygenated red blood cells in their bodies, which means that they can dive for longer, they can dive deeper, and they can dive more often during the day without actually damaging themselves, which for me is fascinating.
Well, if that's just one of the stories in this book, I'm sure the rest are going to be equally as compelling and fascinating. Now, how has Deep Blue and the challenge of writing this, and obviously the research that's gone into it, how has that shaped you as a communicator and storyteller in your everyday life? Because you run a very successful communications agency as well. So I have no doubt that this has somehow also contributed to the way you do things on a daily basis now in that particular field.
So I must be honest, it's not something I've really thought about because it happens so organically. Storytelling is such a beautiful thing because it develops with you. Your voice changes. The way you also perceive the world changes. I must say that everybody that I interviewed was so extremely generous with information, with time, with me asking probably very stupid and ignorant questions, but this is also how you develop as a person and you start to get a deeper understanding of a subject, is by asking questions, is by being a deep listener, by trying to understand another person's point of view and actually get a glimpse into their life, even if it's for a few hours. It it actually opens up your mind. And I like to think that this has affected me positively in the way I communicate and in my everyday work also.
Well, there you have it. Learner, free diver, open water swimmer, and strategic brand communicator. Now also author of Deep Blue, Veruska De Vita. The book's going to be available this week. I know you've also got a bit of an open interview / session / launch happening in Bedford View this week. Do you have a little bit more details you can share?
Yes, so the official Johannesburg launch is happening at Exclusive Books in Bedford Centre at 6 p.m. this Thursday, the 17th of July. Everybody is welcome. I'm going to be in conversation with Megan Judge, who is an ocean theorist and ocean lover and also an artist. I anticipate it's going to be quite an interesting discussion.
Fantastic. Well, if that has whet your appetite, make sure you make your way there. And I'm sure Veruska will also be open to signing a couple of her books. And Veruska De Vita, congratulations on your new book, Deep Blue. And we look forward to reading it.
Thank you so much, Alex. And thank you so much, Sandton listeners.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Taking you into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour. My name is Alexander Leipner. And if there's something that sounded good on the show this week, but you didn't get all the details, don't worry. Don't stress. You can hop onto the website, sandtontimes.co.za, and look up the show notes for this week's edition, and you can get all the details there, some further reading, some breakdowns, some links, and everything that you need to know of something that you might have missed. Also, you can check out the social media accounts at Sandton Times and make sure to follow those for more content, some more multimedia across the different platforms, and also the WhatsApp number 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866, and feel free to use that for your voice notes, your text messages, and so much more. All of that exclusive to the Sandton Times. Right now, time to link up with our entertainment commentator, Tat Wolfen. And Tat, you've got some really interesting stuff to chat to us about, including something to do with sharks.
Hi, Alex. Yes, there is a lot of shark activity going on Nat Geo, which is, my shortening for National Geographic, and Disney Plus. On National Geographic, they're running Shark Fest. And on Disney Plus, they also have a whole bunch of other shark content, and including, and I believe they're carrying this on both channels, an incredible documentary on the movie Jaws, which, believe it or not, is having its 50th anniversary this year.
Goodness.
50th anniversary. That's enough to make anyone feel old, particularly those South Africans who remember being around when it was first released on circuit.
Can we just take a minute just to discuss that? Because, I mean, we look back on Jaws now and we think, if you look at some of the animatronics that we used to create this shark, and obviously some of the stuff feels a little bit dated, but at the time, this was quite a revolutionary movie. I mean, wasn't it the movie that made you think twice before you jumped into any slice of beach anywhere in the world?
Well, there are a lot of people who are too scared to get into a bathtub after watching that movie. And do you know that there are oceanographers and ocean biologists who actually say that the shark moves very well in that movie? Because sharks, when they do break the water surface, do kind of move jerkily. They don't move like dolphins, which, both dolphins move very balletically and smoothly. Sharks don't work that way. I think that the old Bruce, as of course the shark was called, I don't know, he still scares me when I watch Jaws. And it's also very interesting that, you see, now we're talking about Jaws and we promised we're going to leave it just for the website. Some of the scariest stuff, as Spielberg explains, because he's taken his cue from Alfred Hitchcock, and some of the scariest stuff you don't see. So there are scenes, as you remember, where a person has been grabbed underwater by the shark and they've been jerked around and you don't even see the shark. Sometimes what you don't see is scarier than what you do see, which is why kids are always scared of the monster under the bed.
Very true.
Right?
It's so true. Very smart piece of filmmaking that. But like you said, we're going to be putting up more on the website.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting documentary, and I think everyone's going to want to go back now and watch Jaws again. It really is. Yeah, it was a fine piece of filmmaking made by Spielberg when I think he was only 27 years old.
Incredible.
Not bad.
Well, from one piece of nostalgia to another piece of nostalgia, and there's a new Superman movie out on circuit.
Well, it's nostalgia and it ain't.
Okay.
I'm going to sound very old school, okay?
All right.
And I'm going to say that I yearn for the days of the original Christopher Reeve Superman.
Right.
The colors were brighter, the tonal contrasts were deeper, the narrative line was a lot less complicated. And Superman of old was literally this guy who would swoop down, save your kitten from the top of the tree, grab an old lady off the road because a truck was about to come hurtling down that street. Do you remember the kind of things that Superman used to do?
Yeah, and he used to stop runaway trains, all kinds of sort of interesting things.
Yes, because the bridge was broken, and of course he'd get in there at the last second and push against the train so it wouldn't go over into the abyss.
Yes.
That was the Superman that I grew up loving.
And he had a predisposition to not be really good around kryptonite. I think that was sort of his downfall.
It was indeed, yeah.
Yes.
So why his sister in this movie has a super dog called Crypto is anyone's guess. But it gave the movie makers an opportunity to bring a cute doggy into the movie.
Okay.
And the doggy was quite sweet. One of the highlights, I think.
Okay.
It's been updated as so many classics have been. I mean, we all know about the disaster that was the new Snow White, okay?
Yeah.
And I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, okay? But there seems to be an obsession to do remakes, prequels, sequels, whatever, of classic and well-loved movies. So there it is. So they've kind of updated it, I guess, for new generations. And I've got to say this, right? Before anyone castigates me for just saying nasty things about this movie, I've spoken to a number of the so-called influencers who are sort of in their 20s, and they loved it. It's obviously playing to its market and it's working for that market. I'm not sure that it'll work well for the nostalgists who remember the Christopher Reeve movie. I was talking earlier on about the 1978 Christopher Reeve Superman, and as I said, the narrative line was a lot less complicated. In this movie, you need a degree to follow all these different story threads that are going all over the place.
Well, I was going to ask you, Tat. I was going to ask you that. Yeah. Is it retelling the same story that has been told before, or is it taking the storyline forward? Is it adding sort of a new dimension to it?
It's not retelling the original story. Because the original story actually started in space, in their planet, which is about to be destroyed. Do you remember, right? So it comes after that. And it's actually set in modern times. It's not a retelling of the original story. And it's, as I said, it's a whole remanufacture. I think these days they call them reimaginings, okay? And what they've also done is they've brought in all these other DC characters. They've taken the simplicity of the Superman story, and the guys over at DC obviously looked at how much money Disney's been making with the Marvel movies, and they thought, you know what?
Let's do the
same. We need to go Marvel.
Yes.
And they've gone the Marvel route, which is to bring in a whole bunch of other ancillary DC characters so that they can spin them off into other things and into universes, whatever.
Okay.
But what they don't see is that currently there's Marvel fatigue. People are getting tired, I think, and even the out-and-out fans are getting a bit sick of the universes and the multiple universes and whatever. So I'm not sure. They may have come to this party a bit late.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I liked. I liked the 3D version of the movie, which is what I saw.
Yeah.
And in fact, the writer-director James Gunn said, if possible, you should see it in 3D.
Okay, hot tip.
And the 3D was great, The writer-director, unfortunately, like most other Hollywood denizens, also felt morally obliged to give this some political angle. So it comes through in the dialogue in the movie, and even he has said in interviews, Superman is nothing more than an undocumented immigrant, and it just shows, we should show love to all these immigrants because they could be here to save our lives, kind of thing.
Or stop a runaway train.
Well, he neglects to mention that the arch-villain Lex Luthor is also an undocumented immigrant. So maybe what he should be saying rather is, yes, we do welcome immigrants, but they should be checked first so we know who we're letting into the country.
Okay.
So I thought I'd have a little dig at James Gunn. And as we all know, James Gunn loves listening to the show. And
Loyal listener.
So I'm hoping he'll get the message.
So, Tat, I mean, in short, it sounds like something that the young audiences will enjoy for whatever reason, be it the storyline or be it the way it's put together. But those who remember the Superman of the yesteryear might be left wanting.
Yeah, I think the nostalgists will certainly be left wanting. The younger audiences, and as I said, I spoke to a few of the influencers in inverted commas, and they said, yeah, they recognize these other DC characters who are being brought in. So these young folk are obviously immersed in the whole DC universe. So for them, it's cool that this guy came in and the other guy and all these other people have been brought into the story. For me, it made the storyline murky. It detracted from what Superman was about. I will just, whilst I'm talking about human beings, there is a line in the movie where Superman says to someone, can't tell you the exact line, but he says something about, he's all about humanity. And I thought to myself, oh, wow, yes. But that line is betrayed by the rest of the movie, because for me, there were maybe altogether about 15 minutes, maybe 15 to 20 minutes of that movie that connected with me as a human being. For example, when he goes back to his Earth parents and spends a bit of time there and stuff, Pruitt Taylor Vince plays his dad, and there's a lovely little scene there. So for me, those human moments spoke to me. But despite what he says about being all about humanity, the movie was all about sci-fi, tech, stuff that I couldn't relate to. So for me, no.
Interesting. Well, there you have it. Go check out all things sharks on National Geographic and Disney Plus. Something certainly worth checking out, especially now looking at the 50th anniversary of Jaws. Superman, if you're up for it, give it a shot. If not, then you might want to give it a skip and wait till it comes up on one of the satellite channels or streaming networks, and you can go check it out there. Tat, good to catch up with you again, and let's do it all again next week.
Sure, and if you are going to go see Superman, see it in 3D at least, because at least if you don't enjoy the movie, you might get some meat out of the 3D. Have a good week, and I'll catch you next Monday.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
So it's a story that gripped the nation, and now you can step right into the scene of one of South Africa's most infamous political dramas. Park Village Auctions has opened the gates to the once guarded Gupta properties in Saxonwold, and not just for a look. These multi-million rand mansions dripping with both opulence and controversy are going under the hammer in a landmark public auction on the 24th of July. But before that, the public gets a rare chance to take a look, walk through the legacy of state capture, and make up their own minds. Joining us to talk about this historic sale and the interest it's already generating and what makes this auction more than just a transaction is Clive Lazarus from Park Village Auctions. And Clive, it's good to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Clive, what makes these Saxonwold properties interesting for Park Village Auctions to sell, apart from, I suppose, what is the very obvious?
Well, I think that everyone knows that these are the Gupta residences. So we're called the Shebeen, and a lot transpired behind those walls of these properties. Park Village are honoured to be doing this particular sale. We have been involved in a number of big liquidations, including the Basaza as well. So this is not our first state capture or first controversial matter.
So what exactly will you be selling? Are we talking about one house? Are there multiple properties? What does this look like? Paint us a picture.
Effectively, there's 3 premises, number 3, number 5, and number 7 Saxonwold Drive. And I'll describe them for you in that order. Number 3 is a very old house, which we presume that maybe the Gupta's high staff, being security guards or cooks, lived on those premises. It's a 3-bedroomed old house on approximately 4,000 square meter. It's an old home, but a beautiful stand in the heart of Saxonwold.
Okay.
Number 5 it's a 8-bedroomed home with an indoor swimming pool, various lounges, a kitchen. The property is old. You mustn't forget that this property has been not empty the business rescue practitioners could not get access to the premises since 2018. So there's been a 7-year fight, legal battle on these in order to get access into the premises, as the business rescue practitioners could not get access. At every court case, the business rescue practitioners won, and then the matter was appealed. And then it went to the 3 court judges, the business rescue practitioners won, and then it went on appeal. Until eventually in March this year, it went as high as the appellate division, and it was ruled that the business rescues practitioners could proceed and continue with the auction. We only got access into the premises in March this year, and the Guptas left in 2018. So although their people were living there, hadn't been any money spent on daily repair.
Now, I suppose the next natural question is, what kind of buyer would consider buying such a controversial property, and what do you foresee them doing with it? Will they keep the building and renovate it, or is it one of those projects that you'll tear down and rebuild something else?
I mean, number 3 effectively is a beautiful stand. You could tear down and build a magnificent house. Number 5 is an 8-bedroomed home. There is damp. You would have to repair, but the structure of the property is really solid, and you'd have to repair the damp. And I don't know if everyone wants an indoor swimming pool, and you'd have to make alterations. And there's a huge potential for the property to be developed into a magnificent home. 7
Yes.
Is an 18-bedroomed property, zoned residential 1. So it's 18 bedrooms. We need a big family, but with an elevator, it's got sauna, it's got jacuzzi. In fact, it's got a hair salon as well at the bottom. So it's got a magnificent dome, beautiful rooftop, but it's 18 bedrooms all en suite, which is you need a big family to fill, or 3 families each taking a floor.
Or you turn it into a boutique hotel of some sort. But I don't know.
But it's zoned residential 1. So that application would have to be made by the purchaser.
Now, are there any items that are going to be auctioned along with these properties? I don't know, fridges, cupboards, beds. Is there anything in the house still left?
Correct. So what is remaining in the house, and there's a considerable amount of furniture, and we invite your listeners, they can go on to WW Park Village, and you could actually see the full description of each particular house. So the houses are sold individually, number 3, number 5, and then number 7. And thereafter, the contents of number 3 will be sold as one lot. The contents of number 5 is going to be sold as another lot. And then the contents of number 7 is going to be sold as another lot. So effectively, there are 3 houses being sold individually and 3 sets of contents. The contents are not sold individually, i.e. you couldn't go and buy 1 bed or 1 chair or etc. They are being sold collectively per home.
Now, this is obviously an effort to recoup some of the losses from state capture and restore some sort of faith in the entire legal system. What happens to the money that gets brought in by these sales? Where does that go?
So effectively, the money will then go to the business rescue practitioner, and he would pay out the creditors in terms of the proven creditors and in terms of the business plan.
Are there any interested buyers overseas, or do you foresee this being very much a local investor kind of buy?
It's really hard to say at this moment in time. There has been interest, but I think people are not going to spend this type of money without having walked through the home. And I think ultimately the person who is going to buy it, he could be a foreigner or he could be a local. It's really hard to determine at this stage.
I suppose the one question everybody has at this point is to find out what happens to the Saxonwold Shebeen and its stock. Will that be up for sale as well, or is that one for another auction on another day?
There was no stock of any liquor at that time we moved in, so there could have been a lot of thirsty people, but there are a lot of nice whiskey boxes and of high quality, but there's no content in the bottles.
Shame. Well, I'm sure its former patrons will be severely disappointed, and I'm sure they've also moved on to other establishments. But Clive, it's been such a pleasure having you on the Sandton Times Hour. Clive Lazarus from Park Village Auctions chatting to me about the imminent auction of the famous Saxonwold villas owned by the Gupta family going up under the hammer. And if you're interested, we're going to put up more details on the Sandton Times website for you to read. And Clive, it's been great having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
That wraps up another Sandton Times Hour for another week. And feel free to send through your questions, comments, or feedback to editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media at Sandton Times or hop onto the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And if you want to get in touch via WhatsApp, you can WhatsApp 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866 for your voice notes, text messages, and more. As always, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and all other leading digital audio platforms, and join the growing community there and catch up on some of the interviews or share some of those interviews that you heard this week. Thank you to all the guests who made time to be on the show this week, as well as everyone behind the scenes who pulls it all together. Huge thank you. And a special thank you to you for listening. And God willing, we'll do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.